They tryna turn Trenton into Baby Flint. Been signs by depression on the billboards ever since. 100 years ago we was lynched. Now they use germ warfare to kill us. I'm convinced, got the evidence. I look around and it's evident. Then go down to City Hall and see so much negligence. Real art is intelligent. A true artist sends messages that speak to your intelligence. They fought and died so I can do my thing. Not to get drunk and high or join no gang. I will not let none of you die in vain. For my people I bang, bang, bang. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. They say post-traumatic slavery disorder's fake, but I just tell them all to wake up. Everything we went through, what a way down a rape, bro. Isn't our genetic makeup. So I am my ancestors from block to block. Let's build like it's Tetris. We must unite, link up like a necklace. They fought and died and we disrespected. So I come to correct it. The legacy they left I protected. We only think about self and neglected. You're African but yet you rejected. No. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. I do. I go.
Welcome back to another edition of New Freedom Exchange, your cultural expression for social dignity and community empowerment. I'm your co-host, Brother Deen, here with...
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Marsha. You laugh every time I do that.
No, it's such a no, it's not so fun, but it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful spirit, it warms my heart. I'm
gonna do it again. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Marsha.
Wa alaikum wassalam. Peace and blessings, everybody. And I hope everyone received our greetings. Actually, find themselves in a state of peace or become in a state of peace because of our greetings to you all that we send of peace and blessings to you all. My name is Bilal Hassan. We are Black on New Freedom Exchange live.
We're black. You said we're black?
No, we're back.
I heard black too.
We're black. We're back live here on New Freedom Exchange. Your culture, like Dean said, your cultural expression for social dignity and community empowerment and community development. If you're tuned in, we would like for you to drop in the comment section below where you're from, where you're tuning in from, rather, and so we can shout you out accordingly and pull you up on the screen here. So today we have a beautiful show, beautiful series that we're starting. We'll be starting up. We have a special guest already is in the queue already, and we're not gonna keep him too long to wait. But however, before we even get there, we like to do like we normally do on this platform is to check up on everybody, make sure everyone is doing well, or doing okay. So, Sister Marsha, how are you doing on this Monday?
Doing well.
Oh, Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday. Come on now, don't be going back. Don't go back. No, but I'm doing well. The week is pretty smooth so far, so alhamdulillah for that. Mm-hmm. I actually was supposed to take off yesterday, and then I had my daughter's appointment for her orthodontist wrong, so now I get to take off Friday, which is a better day to take off. So
yeah, absolutely, the blessed day after the Yom Jummah. Yes, right.
Yes. So, but so far so good. The week is going great. I'm blessed. The children are doing well, so I'm happy.
Good.
How about you guys?
Oh, well, Brother Deen, you want to hop in?
Oh yeah, everything's good. Just had a nice introductory. I got introduced to a young brother who's in the corporate world who's looking to assist in some of our community development efforts. So he reached out to us, and we just had a brief little meeting. Inshallah, we'll follow up with him with the team shortly. Some good things coming down the road with those who are looking to give back to community development. This is community empowerment. That's part of what we're doing here. So everything else is good on my end. How about you, Bilal?
Alhamdulillah, Allah is grateful, merciful, and grateful to be here, as always. Shout out to our international following, Brother Khalid Abdullah Salam, wa alaikum assalam from Saipan, the Commonwealth of the Northern Marinas Islands. Checking in, as always, he's one of our supporters, been one of our supporters from since we made our inception onto Block Talk Radio. And now making also our impression known in the virtual space here in the beautiful land of Facebook and YouTube. For me, yeah, so alhamdulillah, everything is good. I thought yesterday we had a very productive meeting with one of our dear beloveds. If you haven't caught the interview that we did with Brother Naeem out of Newark, New Jersey, 17 years old, fourth generation Muslim, who's developing an app for business development, economic prosperity for the African American community. It's called Upward Network. I have to pitch it. I'm going to put it in the comment section so people can donate, because we need to help our brother finance the app development. Right now he's like $1,500, but he needs at least $3,000 to go get started. He needs a total of $8,500 to go ahead and fund the full process of the app. So we had a great meeting with him, and for me personally, and Brother Nayo could attest to this as we read his bio about our beloved brother, is that working with helping to develop a better situation for the next generation, a better situation, a more healthier situation, a more fulfilled situation, in terms of not just spirituality, but also economically, politically, etc. We want to give the people behind us, wa alaikum assalam, Imam Yasin Shabazz on the check-in, the future boxer. The future boxer is getting ready. We might see him in the boxing joint soon, man. You know what I mean? So shout out to our brother. We appreciate from Newark checking in, and as always being supportive of this platform. So yeah, so shout out to our brother Naeem. Please support Brother Naeem. Please, if the engineer could put that link in the comment section, so brothers and sisters as they pile in here can go ahead and support that. But other than that, I mean, I've been good, man. Just been trying to stay productive, man. So I stay productive, stay busy. Of course, we have our class with Imam Rashad that we just got out of. We just transitioned out of to make it to this interview. So studying Quran, getting ready for elevation to happen during the month of Ramadan. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's coming up, inshallah. We are in the month of Rajab. And then soon to be in the month, inshallah, of the Shaban, and then Ramadan, and then we'll be, on our way. So April 13th or the 14th, actually around my birthday, we will be, because my birthday is the 14th, so we'll more than likely, inshallah, be
Mr. Birthday guy.
Shout out to the birthday boy.
Celebrate, bring in the birthday with bringing in Ramadan. I think that's a major blessing in itself. Just on a personal level, just seeking the benefits of Ramadan during that time. So, yes. So, Team Aries. That's how we
get out of here, man.
we do it. Okay. Anyway, our brother Nayo Salahu-Din is with us, and we're going to read his bio here. Nayo Salahu-Din, a husband, an educator, a healer, and a sociologist. Excuse me, almost a tongue twister. Nayo is a world traveler, having touched every continent except Antarctica. Oh, we're definitely going to touch upon that. Nayo has been a serious student of knowledge for the past decade under the mentorship of various imams and sheikhs from New York and Atlanta to Senegal and to Sudan. Nayo has been a supporter, facilitator of various cultural and interfaith initiatives, specifically focused on youth leadership, community unity, divine masculinity, and character development according to the prophetic tradition. He is currently a second-year student at Bayan Institute Islamic Seminary School, which partnered with the nationally acclaimed Chicago Theological Seminary. Nael is a community youth leader and an aspiring chaplain, a loving husband and father to his wife, Anaya, and their 2 children. So without further ado, let us bring our brother up, Brother Nael Salahu-Din. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I just want to say, alhamdulillah. You know, it's kind of weird when my son.
That's cool. It's cool.
It's cool with her.
Trying to get on.
Yeah. My son is teething right now, so please excuse any noise you hear in the background. But yeah, it's always humbling to hear people read a bio. This is actually a bio that my wife, so it's alhamdulillah, you know, help me to live up to how good that sounds. Inshallah.
Were you listening to it like, that's me?
Yeah, I was like, dang, that's me. Yeah, that's how it is every time. I'll be like, dang, how many times? Allah is merciful. Allah really blessed me. Alhamdulillah.
So, Nael,
so what's up? What's going on? How y'all?
Oh, yeah, we good.
How's everybody doing?
We're good. So I know Bilal's probably gonna jump into the. Usually, what we do is we even though we read the bio, we always give our guests an opportunity to let us know who they are, right? Beyond the words in the bio. If you just met us on the street and you had to tell us who you were, what would you say to us?
Okay. Oh, the elevator pitch, the elevator speech.
Yeah.
There you go. There you
go. I would say that I'm your brother. You know, I'm your brother in Islam. I am, a seeker of knowledge. I try my best to increase myself in knowledge of al-Islam and, knowledge of the context of, what that means as us as, African-American Muslims, as Black American Muslims. I am very much interested in us. When I say us, meaning, just the Muslim, specifically the American Muslim community, but the Muslim community at large, practicing a uncolonized Islam, if that makes sense. When I say a uncolonized Islam, I mean an Islam that acknowledges the totality of what our believing ancestors came with, what they did. I think many of you have already heard that at least a third of the enslaved Africans brought over here were already Muslim. And there's so much that is being uncovered about what that represented, what that was, and their different modes of expression about Islam. And even before that, the Islamic world before European colonization was very different as well. So I like for us to approach and practice Islam in a way that is free from Eurocentricity. And I think you guys understand what I'm calling to. Yes. I really feel like, religion in the postmodern context that we live in is very much filtered through Eurocentricity and postmodern ideas. And people, they're not able to connect and tap in to certain spiritual realities that this Deen is supposed to bring and it's supposed to, connect us to, because of that disconnect of history, them not knowing specific histories and them not being able to connect with the reality of our believing ancestors and how they saw al-Islam and, how they, their modes of expression as far as, spirituality and all of those things. So that's really what I'm passionate about the most. I see Malcolm X and, Imam Warith D, Mohammed as, people who continue that legacy of us practicing a uncolonized Islam that acknowledges, our context here as American Muslims. So that's what I'm about.
That's big, Aki. That's big.
But you gotta unpack that uncolonized piece.
We're gonna get there.
For real, I got like notes on my paper. Like he has to talk about this.
We're gonna get there, but let's first start a little further back with your family. Let's go a little bit about your upbringing and how you got to this point. So let's start with your family.
Okay. Allah preserve my father. He turned 80 just a few months ago.
Alhamdulillah.
He's still moving and kicking. Allah preserve him. He told me that he might be tuning in on YouTube to hear this. I'm hoping that he's tuning in. But my father is definitely the foundation of my my dedication to wanting to be Muslim, to loving Islam, if that makes sense. And my mother as well. My father is a immigrant from the Caribbean islands. He's originally born and raised in Jamaica. And my mother is also a Caribbean immigrant migrating from Trinidad and Tobago. So I definitely had some good food in my childhood.
Absolutely.
I was definitely spoiled as far as what we were eating, I didn't realize how good our food was until I went to public school. And I was like, what? This is lunch? What is this?
What you said? Nabata with this?
Yeah. I was like, what? This should not be serious. So, I was definitely spoiled as far as, I had very good food, but I'm the last of my father's 11 children. So my father was very much, for the community idea. And, he was all for populating. He was all for expanding the family. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So the last of 11 children, and my father and mother, they had their own journey into into eventually, being under the leadership of Imam Warith D, Mohammed. They were actually very much inspired by the ministry of Malcolm X, of Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, and that's what geared them to join the Nation of Islam. My father was a lieutenant in the Nation of Islam. He was Brother Clear X before he changed his name to Mustafa Salahu-Din. What we now know as Masjid Mushi Khalifa in Brooklyn. He was Mosque number 7. He was there. So Imam Siraj was like my uncle growing up. I used to, I didn't. When people talk about Imam Siraj, I almost forget how internationally, he is now. But I grew up, seeing him as an uncle. So, alhamdulillah. My mother was an MGT lieutenant as well. She, she still has not taught me how to make a lot of things that I need to know how to make. I still have not mastered the bean soup recipe, and I blame her. She needs to teach me that. But alhamdulillah, this is I guess that's my history. My father, he was actually, I think this is important to mention. My father was very much affiliated with the Black Panthers before coming into the Nation of Islam, before being inspired by Malcolm X. So he was already kind of on that wave, right. He's from Jamaica, so we were very much aware of who Marcus Garvey was. We used to hear different tapes and different speeches of Marcus Garvey. So we were very much aware of who Marcus Garvey was. And according to my father, that was his beginning. That was the beginning of him questioning, you know, his own upbringing in Christianity and different things. And that's what eventually led him to convert to Islam. That first spark for him was Marcus Garvey. So then that's important to mention. My mother, Trinidad, actually has a very excuse my daughter. I'm about to.
No, it's okay, bro. It's okay, bro.
But
Wait, she in the band. What you mean you don't know what she doing? She about to start marching back there.
They know they can get away with a little more when I'm in front of this camera. You know, you're trying to play me. It's all good though. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. I'm gonna let them have their freebies for now. You know.
Yeah.
Mashallah, you know. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, my mother, you know, growing up in Trinidad, she would always tell us that Islam is very much a part of her upbringing. Many of her friends were, the Muslims in Trinidad had political. They had a lot of political prowess, if you will. Eid was a national holiday in Trinidad throughout my mother's childhood. So, yeah, there were a lot of, you know, Trinidad has a lot of Indian immigrants. And so the Indians that migrated to Trinidad were very, many of them were already Muslim, and they brought a very, you know, specific, you know, tradition of Islam, and they gained traction and political power in Trinidad very early, before a lot of other places in the West. So Trinidad has a more political history as far as them, you know, being able to get a lot of laws passed and, you know, different things. They don't have the same history of us, you know, fighting to get certain things done. They had, you know, certain. So she, even before she came to the U.S. and eventually converted to Islam, she already had a history of engaging with Muslims. She said she would usually go to her parents. She would go to many of her friends' house for Eid, and they would invite her over and different things like that. So my mother was very much aware of, at the very least, of what Muslims didn't do. You know how it is. Everybody knows what we don't do. At least, you know, Muslims don't do this, they don't do that. So that was her introduction to Islam, even prior to coming to the Americas. My father, his introduction was mainly when he came here to America. So I feel like, you know, Islam was very much a natural transition for my parents, especially for my mother. So yeah.
Nice. So the title of this show, right, is claiming your inheritance. So I wanted you to sort of talk to us a little bit about that inheritance for you, right? You just walked us through your parents coming into Al-Islam and their connections, their natural connections to it, and their and where they came from, right? But talk to us about that claiming your inheritance, especially for you, sort of being raised in the community, right? So you didn't make that transition that they made. You were born into the community. So talk to us about that inheritance and what that means for you.
Alhamdulillah. Being born in the you know, African American Muslim community, the community of Imam Warith D, Mohammed in particular, was quite an experience. It was quite an experience. You know, it was a lot growing up. You know, in Bed-Stuy, you know, in Brooklyn, where, you know, I was born and raised in Bed-Stuy for the most part of my childhood. So I was really between Masjid Taqwa and Masjid Khalifa, if that makes sense. So Imam Siraj and his leadership over there, and he always claimed Imam Warith D. Muhammad. Imam Siraj, even though he has his own particular expressions of Islam that may be a little different than what most people are used to from the Imam Warith D. Muhammad community. He always gave his respect and love to Imam Warith D. Muhammad. And this is one of the reasons why my parents would also encourage me to be present at Masjid Taqwa as well. But Masjid Taqwa and Masjid Khalifa were two very different places as far as the people who even felt comfortable walking in and doing certain things or expressing their Islam in very specific ways. So I would say many of my childhood, the blessing of my childhood was before I really understood the formality of what Islam was, as far as the obligation, what's obligatory upon us, fiqh and sunnah and the hadith and all of these. Before I even understood those nomenclatures and what they came with and that history, my parents they put me in a lot of community programs to instill my love for being African American, for being a Black Muslim. So, and I think really and truthfully, that's what saved me. That's really what saved me. I really think that if it happened the other way around, I don't know, but I think that my parents purposefully, especially me being young and the last of their children, I think it was like, it was a couple test runs with my older brothers and sisters. So they, you know how it is, the youngest one gets all the rules are thrown on that one. It's like, you're not going to do what your brother did. You're not going to do what your older sister did. That type of thing. Right. I did kind of go through that too. But alhamdulillah, I think I went to a private school. I went to Clara Muhammad. Like, of course, Bilal. I met Bilal at Masjid Mushi Khalifa. I think it was at one of the Clara Muhammad summer camps. We were there together. Where I don't even know if your sister remembers me. Bilal. I remember it was me, you, and a couple. It was just the whole crew, man. We everybody kind of grew up and kind of dispersed out a little bit. Everybody kind of went on their own. We kind of lost track, and then we kind of got back. Every Ramadan or every Ramadan and every Eid, we would see each other again. Unfortunately, that doesn't even happen anymore, really, unfortunately. As much, during Ramadan, it's like, during my childhood, you could always expect to at least see everybody during the Eid. That was like the reunion, the yearly annual reunion for everybody. But I feel like, even, nowadays, that's not even a given. Allah help us. But yeah, growing up in the WD community, my father, he was still kind of transitioning, if you will. The Nation of Islam was a very heavy experience. I think you guys can acknowledge that. So, my mother, in my experience, had a little easier time transitioning to the more orthodox, way of Islam, or the more international, universal modes of expression about Islam. My father had a little bit more of a challenge in his transition, as many of our elders did. The Nation of Islam was very unique in its indoctrination. The FOI, they went through a lot, so and they came through a lot, so that transition was very heavy on a lot of our elders, and my father was definitely one of those elders. But he eventually, alhamdulillah, he eventually accepted, he eventually, came all the way through, if you will, but he never dismissed Elijah Muhammad, if you understand what I mean. He never you couldn't say anything about Elijah Muhammad. It's like you couldn't say anything about Malcolm, you couldn't say anything about Elijah. And he honored both of those figures just unapologetically, even though, as we learned more technical things like Aqidah and, different things of, the Nation of Islam's Aqidah is, doesn't agree with, the scholars of Islam through the age, those type of formal things. And although as we, matured in our understanding of Deen, and now we know those things, he still never, he never allowed anybody who call themselves Muslim to slander or say anything negative about Elijah Muhammad or Malcolm. And Malcolm is, of course, a little bit more of an accepted figure than Elijah, but he never, and I think you guys know what that means. A lot of the elders who are, who came through that, they still honor Elijah Muhammad. So so we grew up, listening to a lot of speeches of, Imam Warith D Muhammad, and my father was also immersed in some of his tafsir, some of his commentary on the Quran. But my father was very much still learning the Deen himself, if you will, to a certain extent when we were being raised. So there are certain things that we had to learn outside of our household, if that makes sense, as far as the traditional, fiqh, hadith, understanding the necessity of having a madhab, madhahib, and all these different things as far according to the traditional, scholarly, track as far as, how you should learn the foundations of Islam. We learned most of that outside of the house. My father would often introduce me to certain people, and he would say, learn from him, learn from him. And one of the blessings that my father did for me, he introduced me to a man, Sheikh Abdul Rashid. And I think Bilal knows who that is, right? Sheikh Abdul Rashid, he also came through the Nation of Islam. He accepted the leadership of Imam Warith D Muhammad as well, but he was very much tied to the international community as well. So he had ties to the Dar al-Islam movement, and what that represented. He had ties to the Tabligh Jamaat, that movement and what that represented. And he also had the blessing of living and studying in Sudan for a couple years. So he was well versed on the totality of what Islam was, and different modes of expression internationally of what that looked like. But he was also an African American Muslim. And he didn't lose his identity as an African American Muslim. So my father, trusted him to be one of my teachers. So he, kind of put my hand in his hand, if you will. And he was just like, learn from him. And, my father, just like many of the elders in our community, wanted us to learn Islam, but didn't want us to lose our identity as African Americans. And I think all of you understand exactly what I mean when I say that. So my father was very much, he was staunchly about that. You're a African American, you're the son of a Caribbean American Muslim. Keep that identity, And I love my father for doing that. He made sure that I did not look outside of myself, and I did not look outside of what my community had to offer, as far as the Deen of Islam. So I love and I respect and I honor my father for doing that for me. Alhamdulillah.
Shout out to Abu Nail. There's your father there.
Yes,
Good to see your father.
that's my
Brother
father.
Salahu-Din.
This is
Big
this is a
Salahu-Din on
picture.
the check.
Subhanallah. This is a picture from his 80th birthday.
Wow.
This is a picture from his big 80. Does he look 80? Look at this man.
Now you look good.
And he rocking that kufi. And he rocking that kufi. That joint is nice.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Yes. So my father, he's he's unapologetically, Jamaican, Caribbean, Muslim man, all the way straight up and down. So, wow, thank you for showing that picture, man.
We see the halal little side joke, halal bubbly up in there. I got the
all right, you got
that sparkling cider.
But I appreciate the love for your father and your father being that model. Like that's how my father was, and that makes me want to be a father similarly. And I appreciate the poise that you have and how you're communicating the need for sticking with your cultural identity, but also embracing a universal message, right? And the question I had was, outside of your father that gave you that model, what are some other, individuals, or what is it for you? Why you keep that, right? Because there are peer pressure, especially as student of knowledge, when you go to different communities, peer pressure will like convince you to be with our thinking or with our presentation of Islam, right? And try to have these debates about other groups, right? But I really appreciate your poise and how you keep that solidarity. So can you just express that interest?
Alhamdulillah. I would say, in my childhood, my father brought me around certain people that, in my youth, I was a little, I didn't really want to be around certain places, with my father, but he dragged me. He made sure I came, me and my older brother as well, and some of my older siblings. He made sure that we stayed close to Islam, that we knew where different masajid were. We knew Imam Bilal in Queens, 7B over there, and so he made sure we knew where all the temples turned masajid were. He made sure we knew what the imams looked like, who they were, and so again, I tip my hats off to my father for that. But I would say, alhamdulillah, I understand exactly what you're saying, Brother Deen. People try you. People are going to try you. And we don't even have time for me to tell all the stories, Habib, subhanallah. But I would say, Sheikh Abdul Rashid, Allah preserve him. Allah preserve Sheikh Abdul Rashid. He took me by the hand and he showed me that Islam was not separate from Africanness, not separate from blackness. And of course, I had the blessing and opportunity of also being in Sudan for a short amount of time, but matter of fact, it was during this time that we're in right now. My wife and I, we spent Rajab, Shaban, and Ramadan in Sudan. SubhanAllah, that was a beautiful experience. I'm recollecting now that when you see Muslims that look like you, and that have a lineage of over a century of Muslims, and many of them are very much connected to that lineage. You know, my father was so and so, and his father was so and so, and his father was so. You know, lineage is extremely important in many of the villages. You know, many of the villages in these countries, especially, you know, the more spiritual, you know, tasawwuf, or, you know, Sufism. But, you know, people have different names for, you know, the spiritual aspects of al-Islam. But, you know, when you travel the world and you study, you know, how our believing ancestors engaged with the natural world around them, they were so in tune. They were so, you know, our ancestors mapped out the stars, man. You know, like, you know, they were able to align pyramids with star constellations without a telescope. You know, that was their lineage. And you know, I would say this, there's a beauty of knowing, that al-Islam, in fact, was preserved by people that look like you. You know, that al-Islam would not have been spread to the corners of the world without the contribution of people that look like you. You know, that changes your perspective. And Sheikh Abdul Rashid, even before I got a chance to travel to Egypt and Sudan and you know, many different places around the world, he would, you know, show me pictures of his time in Sudan. He would show me, you know, different things, like, you know, like, listen, these, you know, don't think of, yes, subhanallah, y'all blowing up the pictures. So
you got the goodies.
This was subhanallah. So since you brought up the picture, I have to explain now, subhanallah. So this was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. So this was my time in the village in Sudan. This was the village of Manada. This is a village which one of the teachers of Sheikh Abdul Rashid, who we know here, this black bald-headed man that you see sitting, this is the son of his teacher. So his teacher is passed away. Rahimahullah ta'ala, Allah bless him and forgive him his sins completely and grant him the highest heights of paradise. His name was Sheikh Abdullahi Wal Ajuz al-Mukashfi. He was a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad through his grandson Hussein. And this man this bald-headed black man that is sitting here, is also a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through his grandson Hussein. Now look, the thing for me now is when people speak about the family of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people have a very Arab image in their head. And when I say Arab, I mean how the Arabs look today. Because historically, what the Arabs looked like is not what we see today. That's after a lot of, you know, mixing and, you know, different, you know, colonies, you know, the Arab peninsula was, you know, Abyssinia had control. A lot of different, you know, the Persians had control. So they mixed with a lot of different things. But, you know, there is historical proof that the origin of the ethnicity of what we now know as the Arabs, actually their origins is East African. So, you know, when most people see descendants of the Prophet Muhammad, they don't see men that look like him. That's not the image that comes to their head. So, people like him, and his name is Sheikh Tamim Abdar. You know, he is a very learned man in all of the sciences about Islam, particularly the Maliki school of jurisprudence is the school of jurisprudence in Sudan that they uphold. They have some of the oldest texts in the Muslim world that exist today, and they are the authority on the Arabic language. So many may not know this, but I know it was very popular at one point where people were going to study in Syria. Syria was like the hot spot. Many people like Imam Zayd, Shaki, many people went to Syria. Now, a lot of people don't know that even those madrasas and those universities in Syria, they got their accreditation from universities in Sudan. Sudan accredited these universities in these places. So if you look at the chain of knowledge in many of the top scholars in Hadith, many of the top scholars in the Arabic language and the nuances of the Arabic language as pertains to the Fusha, the Quranic language, you can there's always somebody from Sudan in that chain of knowledge. So Sudan is a very special place. They were going through a lot of political turmoil when we were there. So the American embassy, they was like, y'all need to leave, we probably would have stayed longer, but of course, family first, gotta get out of there. I ain't trying to put my family in danger. So, this is Bilal pulling out the okay.
He got the goodies.
Bilal, so yes, this is my lovely wife, Anaya Walker, Salahu-Din, Allah preserve her. She is also one of my teachers in the Arabic language. She actually was blessed to she actually studied Islam in Istanbul, Turkey. She went to a very, very renowned madrasa specifically for women. So she studied Islam from men, but also women scholars in Turkey, in Istanbul. And so she's very knowledgeable herself. So may Allah preserve her. And she's definitely the reason why I'm able to do what I do, so alhamdulillah, Allah preserve her. So we were there together. She actually, got pregnant shortly after. So that was our first child, our daughter, Hira, the one who's making all this noise in the background right now. So alhamdulillah, Sudan was a beautiful time. So I think what's important, getting back to the question is that, we have to understand that, Blackness and Arabness are not mutually exclusive. There's no, but unfortunately, that's still something that people are now coming into terms with. That, there are people who, I do a lot of interfaith work and I do a lot of community work with African-American Muslims as well as the broader, immigrant youth Muslims. And even the immigrant Muslims, even the ones that are from, South Asia and, Pakistan and these places, even them too, they have this idea that them, being more Arab makes them more Muslim, in their modes of expression, in their modes of, and there's nothing wrong with being Arab. We respect their tradition. We love and respect our Arab brothers, but that is by far not the only mode of expression of al-Islam, nor is it the majority. The majority of Muslims are on the Asian continent. So the majority of Muslims are actually not Arab. So, there's many modes of expression that are okay, in the Deen of al-Islam. And I think that, Imam Warith D, Mohammed in particular, would encourage us to, learn about our brothers on the continent, specifically West Africa, since many of our believing ancestors were brought from that part of the Muslim world. our teachers would remind us, like, there's much for us to connect to, in that lineage, in that history. So our teachers, they specifically would encourage us to look into figures like Uthman Dan Fodi, figures like Sheikh Ibrahim Niyas, Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, these figures specifically from West Africa, to connect with, their modes of expression of Al-Islam and different things, because this is the mode of expression of our believing ancestors, and we should be unapologetic about that. Me specifically, I connect a little more with East Africa because of my attachment to Sudan, and I have access to many teachers in Sudan, given my time there. So, and when you look at the lineage, many of the West Africans, their lineage traces back to Sudan. It's interesting. Even now, I got a chance to spend some time in Ghana, and even many of the the people there, when they trace their lineage back, they arrive in Sudan, in East Africa. So it's very much all connected, and I think that it's important for us to know that Muslims are not monolithic. There's not one way to express your Al-Islam. So, alhamdulillah.
Just a quick follow up before I see you about to go, Marsha.
I was
the concept you just connected with Arab and I think you used the term. Did you say African or Black?
I said African. I think I said African. I'm not sure.
Right. But yeah. So when you said that, I was thinking about the follow up question is like, how do we communicate this to the African American, right? To show them, like you said, because if they get into all this drama that we go through as Muslims,
right?
What is it outside of history? One thing that just came to my mind, and I'll let you express your understanding, was even the terms itself, like Sudan, Aswad, Saudi, all those are expressions of Black in language, right? So it's like sharing that with the people, sharing the history, to keep them away from like all the drama.
Right. So yes, you're correct, Brother Deen. Bilad al-Sudan, the land of the Blacks, is what our believing ancestors often called this region of Africa, the Bilad al-Sudan, which very much stretched from West to East Africa in its largest expansion of the Muslim, caliphate that existed there at one point in time. So, yes, this is a part of our, mode of expression about Islam. I think what's important, and this is the blessing. I think, when I have these conversations, all I can say is alhamdulillah. Allah has really blessed me with good teachers, wallahi. And there's plenty of them, Dr. Bilal, Dr. Mansa Bilal King was one of my mentors at Morehouse College, and he helped me. Yes, dang, I feel like Bilal be flicking these dicks. Alhamdulillah. So this was my time. This was when I actually I presented my capstone. I had a capstone. This was my senior. No, this is my junior year. This is the second semester of my junior year. No. This was the first semester of my senior year. Subhanallah. Dang. This was a while ago. Allah help us.
This way you was slinging the pies. This way you was slinging the pies.
Yeah,
Out of Morehouse.
I was slinging the pies. Oh yeah, I remember Bilal came to Morehouse. I remember
that's right.
He came. Yeah, I remember.
Right. You got that right
here. Man. Yo, Bilal, you really stacked him with all these pictures, man.
He wearing the crates for them pictures.
Yo, the crates for real. Mashallah, that was us and
Bikari Akbar.
Yes. I remember that night, man. Beautiful night. We went to that halal pizza spot.
Yes.
Mashallah. Yes. That was a good day, man. Alhamdulillah, man. I'm glad you popped up on me that day, man. Alhamdulillah. But yes, what I like to do, at least in my experience, the issue is people, they don't like to read anymore. Allah help us, and we have to open books, and read. And I say that to myself too. There's a lot of, you can see all these books behind me. I have not read all of these books. I definitely, my wife is patient with my habit of just collecting certain books. Now, the summertime is usually when I kind of, open them and try to, I'm developing curriculums for specific things that I think will be beneficial for our community. And every time I start, developing a certain curriculum, one of my mentors, they just come out with something. I'm like, dang, I was thinking about it. They just do it already. So, my son is still teething.
It's all right.
Alhamdulillah. So,
it's all right.
So, yes. So Sheikh Mohammed Mendes, him in particular, Ya Allah. Allah preserve Sheikh Mohammed Mendes. Please say Ameen if you love him. Oh my God. So Sheikh Mohammed Mendes, and I think this was a part of Allah's plan, man. I got accepted into Morehouse like rolling admissions. I didn't even think I was going to end up going. And, one of the first people I met was Sheikh Mohammed Mendes. And that's when I knew that.
At Morehouse? At Morehouse?
Yes, at Morehouse on campus. He came to a presentation that was happening. I think Dr. Bilal King, was already there and had already knew him and invited him to a presentation. And he quickly presented something. He said something very quickly about, Africa and Islam, and, something like that. And that's when I was like, Allah did not only want me to be at Morehouse, but he wanted me to be in Atlanta. Atlanta at that time, some people have moved out. Atlanta is not the same Atlanta that it was when I was there. But there was people that were still living in Atlanta during that time that I had to meet, that it was necessary for me to meet, for me to even have the mission and the certainty that I have in my own self, and the what I can even express and see as divine in this work that we're doing. Yes, Allah preserve Sheikh Mohammed Mendes. Also, Imam Saraj, he also has a wife in Atlanta. He would visit every now and then. Him, Imam Suleiman in Atlanta, Imam Mansour, and of course the OG Imam Pleman, and the triple OG Imam Pasha. I know Imam Pasha.
May Allah be pleased with him.
Yes, subhanAllah, rahimahullah ta'ala. Imam Pasha, I was scared of Imam Pasha, man. He would drop some gems on you, and he would say it in such a way like, dang, like, okay, never mind. Okay. So, alhamdulillah, Imam Pasha was, he was definitely a gem, him, Imam Qasim, in Houston that passed away, him, rahimahullah.
Allah be pleased. I mean,
he presented to me a very unique aspect of Imam Warith D Muhammad that I have not often heard people speak of. I remember he was telling us a story about a dream that the Prophet, that the Imam Warith D Muhammad had about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. And I was just like, this is the stuff that people just don't hear, and that people, need to know about Imam Warith D Muhammad. Imam Warith D Muhammad, he was very unique. He was very unique with what he had to offer and what he was presenting at the time he was presenting it. And I really believe that, as people who, grow up in his community, or have benefited from his community, we, we need to say his name more. We need to present him in a holistic way, if you will. I feel like many people, they like to present Imam Warith D Muhammad in very specific ways. And they might leave out other things about Imam Warith D Muhammad that kind of humanizes him, and kind of, helps us understand that he was also a husband, he was also a father, he was also, a believing, practicing Muslim, who had his own spiritual experiences and everything. So, every time Imam Qasim would visit from Houston, I would make sure to run to Atlanta Masjid and, sit down with him for some time. And, it was nothing but benefit that I received from all of those men. Allah preserve them. So I really believe that, but I think it's important to mention that a lot of books even are being written about, this topic of blackness and how it relates to Al-Islam. Imam Dawood Walid, Allah preserve him. He's director of the CARE in Detroit, Michigan. He just published a book called Blackness in Islam. And I really, really encourage. I did a pre-order. My book is on the way now. It's not here yet, but I'm hyped. I can't wait. But I was a part of many Zoom presentations he did on just the content of what it's covering, and many of we have to understand that the Muslim world was also colonized to a certain extent, and it had a very huge impact on what they focused on, how they taught different sciences and different things. So many times we're at the mercy of different translations of certain texts in the Deen. And we're at the mercy of different translators who also have a very colonized understanding, of what the Deen is. So that's the beauty of having, teachers who can sift through yes, this is the book.
Yes.
I was waiting for you to put that picture up.
Right, you got everything else, right?
I know, right? So look, this is please, I encourage everyone, please support Imam Dawood Walid, Sheikh Dawood Walid. He's also an African American. He is also very much aware and connected to the Imam Warith D Muhammad community. This book is a gem. This is a collector's item. This is something that we should keep on our shelf. And when our children are, are old enough, they should be sifting through this as well. And I think that, books like this would help them, be able to, sift through. Yes, Brother Sultan. Shout out to the homie Sultan.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum, Sultan. How are HU in the house? How are
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, okay. I don't even know the brother, but you said HU, so now I'm right.
Yeah,
now I'm right.
My HU brother. He's also my classmate at Chicago Theological at Bayan Institute. So shout out to Sultan. Alhamdulillah. Yes, so these two books as well, Centering the Black Narrative. So this is a C, and subhanallah, Allah bless you, Sultan. So that these books, I have these books. I have these books. And these books are important because they really I have these books. Okay, so this is one of them. Yes, alhamdulillah. So this book, Centering the Black Narrative, Ahlul Blackness in Africa. This book is another collector's item. that we need. I really feel like these books, if we introduce our children and our youth to books like this before they, interact with, a lot of our immigrant community, and they may, get different ideas of, what being Muslim looks like and stuff. Books.
Sultan say, get the reading, Niall.
I have read this book. This is a short. I have read this book. Don't try to play me, Sultan. Alhamdulillah. So I have read his Censoring the Black Narrative books. Those are very short, and I think that's the beauty. Those books are actually kind of short. I know that this Blackness in Islam book is a little longer, and the context is a little heavier, but these are the books that are necessary for people to understand. Sheikh Mohammed Mendes is also right now he also finished and published a book. Allah preserve Sheikh Mendes. Wallahi, he did a translation of Imam Suyuti's book on just naming the virtues of many of the black Sahabas, that even the companions of the Prophet themselves many of them were African people, not just Bilal, just Bilal, radiallahu ta'ala an. There were very dark-skinned companions other than Bilal. And this is another fact. This points to the fact that
the colonization goes back to that colonization.
Yes,
that she was talking about earlier.
Arabness and blackness are not mutually exclusive. There is a such thing as a black Arab, and even the description of Ali radiallahu ta'ala an, there's one description of Ali from the scholars that explain him in the same exact way that Bilal was explained, as a dark-skinned, man. So, the name is escaping me. Of what he named the translation. But this is another book that I think is also a collector's item. These are books that are necessary for us to have as African-American Muslims, because if we can engage the ummah, our families, our children, with this type of literature, so that, they don't even have those issues of looking outside of themselves and, even having an idea that they have to be anything other than themselves. Alhamdulillah for the teachers I've had, but I'm very much grateful that they're translating and publishing these books for for the access of us now, so that we can even pass it down to the youth, and that they can do the reading themselves, and they may be able to even take it further. So Allah preserve all of them. Alhamdulillah.
Now, I saw Marsha got like 20 questions in the queue. I already know she's.
Oh man!
Marsha,
maybe I'm talking too much. You got to hit me with the questions.
No, and I think I got a few.
It's not a whole 20. It's not a whole 20. It's probably like 2.
I was about to say it's just 15.
And it might be a good one that I like squeezed together.
But I think my two questions, but my main one for you, Niall, with your travels, given your experience that you have had, a lot of people our age, between me and yours age, they didn't have that experience like you have had. They didn't have the experience of having several mentors, several teachers, especially young men, especially our brothers in the hood. You know this well, growing up in Bed-Stuy. You know what I'm saying? Like, forget about mentors. That's just like a thing of a past. What is your perspective now, given your experience so far, given that you are pursuing higher levels of education, the importance of mentorship and guidance for young African-American men, especially young African-American Muslim men, but just African-American men in general, males in general, growing up in the urban centers in our urban communities?
Alhamdulillah. My teachers would always say to me that mentorship is what differentiates, the good from the great. There's people who, our communities are definitely not bereft of talent and of potential. But I really think that in many cases, perhaps the lack of mentorship is why the fruits of that talent are not met, or not able to reach its highest potential. And while I was blessed to have mentors, I'm still a student. I'm still being mentored. I still think I have a lot to learn. But I think that is something that is necessary. I think one of the things that changed my life at a young age was I went through a rites of passage program. And this was a rites of passage program specific for African American and Latino young men. And in this rites of passage, many many different wisdoms, different gems were given to us. And perhaps many of them were even over our head at the times, but they definitely came full circle as we matured, as we matriculated through high school and definitely college. So I think that we need to get back to that being a norm, that there should be, rites of passage, programs in our community, where at the end of this rites of passage program, you adopt a mentor, somebody, you're connected to, someone who's in the middle, not quite an elder, but definitely not, a youth as far as young as you are. And this was the blessing that was done for me that really changed the course as far as what I could have been doing, So I am very much thankful to, again, my parents for exposing me to those things, and I thank Allah for blessing me with that. In the bio, I think it said divine masculinity. I think that one of the things that is missing from our community is people understanding the importance of living their mission. And life is about you fulfilling your mission. That and this was the gem that really stuck with me in that rites of passage program. And I want to be clear that all of the men were not Muslims. This was a communal thing that was not specific to religion. And I'm still very much connected to all of those young men that I went through the rites of passage program with. I was just talking to one of the homies the other day, alhamdulillah, and what we took away. A lot of memories are coming to me now. Forgive me, I'm talking slow. What we took away was you were put on this earth to fulfill a very specific mission that no one else can do, will do. There's something unique to your existence here in this realm, in this earth. And if you do not fulfill that, no one else will fulfill that. So the world is dependent on you. Your nation is dependent on you. Your community is dependent on you. Your family is dependent on you. So them really stressing those points and impressing that upon us really changed the way we were thinking. And I was 14 when I went through this rites of passage program, and you know, I've never connected. There's only been very few instances where I've connected with other men to the extent that I've connected with those men, those young men. I don't want to make it sound like, you know, a fraternity, like, you know, hazing, or it wasn't to that extent, you know what I mean? But it was definitely much more of a mental, you know, type of. They really put us through certain exercises, certain things that challenged the way that we saw the world and how we thought about community. And what I thought was so beautiful was that it added up very much closely to Imam Warith D Muhammad's, you know, even his outlook, you know, his stress on community life. This was like right in line, you know. So I think that, you know, there is a way for men to embrace masculinity and femininity in a way that is whole, that does the community justice, and that reverses many of the trauma our believing ancestors went through. And the same for women. There's a way to embrace femininity and to honor masculinity in a way that you know, really would wipe away many of, you know, the injustices that were done to us psychologically. And I'm very happy to continue that tradition of divine masculinity, you know, divine femininity, living in complete oneness with all of who we are, you know, all of what we are. And you know, I think that is one of the things that Allah blessed me with, that really directed my disposition at a very young age to even seek out the things that I'm seeking now. Did I miss any part of the question? I'm sorry.
You covered it, and I don't know if I think I'll let Marsha go because I do have one more question. But Marsha,
okay.
Please.
Yeah, so I just wanted us to touch a little bit on what we heard in the bio with the community youth leadership. Mm-hmm. And if you can, just reflecting back to you growing up in the community versus how the community may look to youth now, sort of give us that comparison, and then tap into what you do with youth leadership to give us like the landscape of, you know, what the future looks like for our youth, considering what may or may not be present, reflecting back to what you experienced.
Okay. All right. Don't get me in trouble, Sister Marsha. Don't have me say nothing crazy.
We got you. We got you.
Oh man, we got you. It's all love here. Like if they come for you, you just tell them to come see Sister Marsha. Okay.
I'm gonna get a call from me.
Listen, look, I'm gonna pull my swords out my back for you, right? I'm gonna pull my swords out my back for you. Like,
right, I got
you coming from my brother?
I got you, sis. I'm gonna CC you in that email and be like, please.
I got you.
Let me stop. But you know, I remember going through a phase where I was very disappointed. I was very frustrated with what was happening in the Warith D Muhammad community, you know, at the masajid, you know, at the different, you know, events that were going on, different conferences, initiatives. I was very frustrated at one point in time, and I thought that that we weren't doing all that we could do, and I still believe today that we're not doing all that we could do. And I want to say first that I'm speaking specifically to my experience. So I know that other people have very different experiences throughout the different generations. You know, maybe people younger than me might have a different experience, and people older than me might have a different experience. So I want to first make the disclaimer that this is specific to my experience.
I still got my swords for you, bro. You're going to be all right. I'm telling you, you're going to be all right, because I'm going to just pull it out and go, shh.
But yeah, you know, it was, it's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of things that we could be doing that we're not doing. And, you know, I love our brother, our Imam Rashad. I love Imam Rashad. I do. His his smile just makes you smile, mashallah. Imam Rashad, I remember when I met him, and he, I remember, I just used to just do as much as I can to engage him, because I think his experience is very unique within the Imam Warith D Muhammad community, and he's kind of like the big bro and the little bro all at one time. He's like in the middle, kind of, as far as he understands both sides of the coin. And I learned a lot from him as far as the disposition of many of the elders in the community that I didn't know as personally. And I think that, for one, Imam Warith D Muhammad's tafsir, his commentary on the Quran, there's so much that can be done with that. That is not being done. And I think someone who is as unique and as inspired as Imam Warith D Muhammad, we definitely need to make more use of specific things that he had to offer, in his writings and his commentary and different things, while also embracing the universality of Islam. I feel like there's, we live in a very polarized, society where, it's either this extreme or that extreme, and we don't want to belittle the legacy of Imam Warith D Muhammad by embracing either extreme. I think, Islam is about the middle path, the middle way, balance. And I think that even within our community, there's a balance that we can adopt, that for us to embrace all of Imam Warith D Muhammad and what that means, his sojourn through the nation and everything, all of that legacy and what that means, as well as us being a part of the global community of Al-Islam, and us also acknowledging, different necessities for certain aspects of the religion, the Deen of Islam. And I was, as I was learning, I think one of the things that led to my frustration was I was learning the legacy and the tafsir of Imam Warith D Muhammad at the same time that I was learning the foundational sciences of traditional Islam. So I was learning the importance of fiqh and madhahib, having a madhab, a school of jurisprudence, and why having, sticking to one school is important, but taking from other schools is not an issue. The whole context of everything. And I really thought that, although Imam Warith D Muhammad specifically made a decision not to use certain language, he made a specific. Imam Warith D Muhammad was very intentional. He was very intentional. And I think when you listen to his speeches and you read, his commentary, you can tell that he's using a very specific language for a very specific reason. And I really believe that he specifically chose not to use certain, traditional Islamic language in certain aspects. Although what he was speaking about definitely was not separate from the Islamic tradition. So, but, somehow you still find some elders who believe that, there's no need for us to embrace certain aspects of traditional Islam, like fiqh and like, certain Aqidah and different things. That's not necessary and we don't need that, etc. And, I feel like it creates a dichotomy within the youth, specifically. And I've seen this within my own age group and within the youth younger than me growing up, at the Clara Muhammad schools, that, it leaves them, I think it leaves them vulnerable to extremes like, the Salafi type of, dispositions. It leaves them open to certain extremes when you kind of leave certain aspects hanging from the Deen. that people are more than willing to fill with a very specific, mode of expression of what that's supposed to look like. And I think that's the issue. You if you're not teaching the classes yourself on certain things, then people are going to go elsewhere, and they're going to pick up different modes of expression and different things, etc. So I think one of the things that, and this is why I fell in love, with Imam. I remember when I met Imam Pleeman. Now I sat with Imam Pleeman. I fell in love with the Atlanta Masjid, about Islam in Atlanta, because I think that they understood this, that they, no one masjid or, one community is perfect. But, I think, if anything, I think they really, in my experience, they brought that together. They really, there were classes on the legacy of Imam Warith D. Mohammed, but there were also classes on usul fiqh. There was also classes on, Aqidah, basic Islamic texts, the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi. We learned they were still doing classes on traditional Islam. They still invited international scholars to Atlanta Masjid to address the community. Habib Umar, the great, global Yemeni scholar, he visited the Atlanta Masjid. Sheikh Yahya Rodas, the another American Muslim scholar. He also, they made sure to invite, Sheikh Hassan Sisa, even the African, scholar Sheikh Hassan Sisa, the Tijani scholar. They made sure to invite these people, and they made sure that their community was exposed to diversity, within the Ummah. But they also acknowledged that we have our own legacy. We have our own, track. We have our own context that we shouldn't, feel any way about. So I really loved my experience in Atlanta, specifically for that reason. And I feel like, while there were other things that, didn't sit well. I just feel like, at least, people have, the basics. People understand the foundational sciences, and people are connected to their own legacy from Imam Warith D. Mohammed. And I think that if that is not at least the basis, then that opens up doors for trouble, specifically as it pertains to the youth, because they're very vulnerable to a lot of things, unfortunately.
Well, I want to also just talk a little bit more to the point. Okay. What, in your opinion, what are some of the? We talk about. I think we're touching upon education, Islamic education, and the importance of that being the foundational root. But also for young adults, they're looking for not only Islamic education, but they're also looking for other things other than Islamic education. Of course, that's the foundation.
Yes. Right.
And I know that me, you, and we have these community conversations with Imam Warith on this platform, and we exchange on family. You're married.
Yes.
So that's obviously a concern for young men, or should be concern for young men and young women. Business, you have a business, with the CMOS. So it's like you have all these other things. So could you touch upon what are some, from your observation? There's the CMOS gel.
Alhamdulillah.
So we have that. So can you touch upon some of the things that you also hear in the streets that young Muslims are looking for? Like, what are the other yearnings? What are the other yearnings?
I think that's a great question. I'm glad that you said that, because I do believe that yes, education is important, but we're human beings. There's different aspects of what is necessary to maintain a community. Alhamdulillah, I think different communal programs, and I feel like this used to be done. I remember we used to have movie night And you know, in Akbar Hall, you know, we used to.
Akbar Hall is desolate. Akbar Hall is desolate.
Allah help us.
Please, I mean,
Akbar Hall is so big. I feel like there's so much that one space alone.
Yes,
has so much potential that it's just there. I don't know what's happening right now. Allah help us. So you know, I really, and these are the things that frustrate me when I just think about, you know, all the things that could be happening that's not happening. And I think what kind of distances the youth from the community is when those community different, you know, those programs are not happening, even more than the educational programs. Our youth thought they want to. It's easier to get them interested in the educational aspect when you're feeding them, you know, socially. When you're like, okay, come, let's watch, you know, an appropriate movie. Let's play some games. Let's, you know, maybe we could have something. The more older teenagers here and the younger, you know, like. And I feel like there was a time where that used to happen. You know, I remember it was Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. You know, the YMCA was like right around the corner. We used to go to the YMCA. On Gates, there was a lot of things that were happening, and then it just stopped. Like I can't even pinpoint exactly when, but you know, I remember it was like just back to back. It was just like, you know, and you know how the elders start complaining, where are the youth? You know, they da. And it's like, well, they went where they
are. They know.
You know, they went somewhere where they exactly.
They know where we at.
So right. So and of course, you know, that's a real concern for parents. You know, they don't want their children to be you know, caught up. They don't want their children to be in the streets, you know, doing whatever. But at the same time, you have to acknowledge that that's a part of the human soul that needs to be nourished. That's a seed that needs to be watered. And if you leave them vulnerable to the dunya, if you will, to water that, it's going to be some muddy water. You know, it's going to be something that comes up. And I think that the more we can holistically acknowledge all of that, the better it would be. And I'm down. You know, I'm down. I mean, as a matter of fact, I was just talking to, you know, one of the sisters the other day. You know, she was teasing me about the post that I put up about the Aki and Saltfish. You know, Jamaican boy over here. So she was like, listen, like, you know, she's like, listen, I need to teach the community how to make this food. Right? Like protesting about, you know, she was just being funny. But I was just like, look, you know, I'm all for that, but you know, and I feel like what really disheartens the youth is the amount of bureaucracy that's just, you know, it's like red tape. You got to go through this person. Then like when the youth want to do something, it's to the point where they really don't know who to go to. You go to the imam is like, okay, well, talk to this person. And then you talk to that person, and they're like, you know, it's just like a back and forth where the youth are just like, okay, so if it's this much, you know, bureaucracy and red tape around me even having just a small event that really only me and my friends are going to come to anyway, you know, then, you know, never mind, you know. And that's been the sentiment of the youth. And another thing is, I would say the elders need to be a little bit more gentle and understanding. Yes, they come from a different, you know, generation that required, you know, a different mode of, you know, a different attitude. It was a different time. But I feel like many of the elders may not also acknowledge how they may even rub the youth the wrong way and away from the community unintentionally. They may have good intentions, and I haven't met an elder in our community who had malicious intention or any intention to run any youth out. But you know how they say certain things, how they present certain things, they do just that, and they may not realize it. So I think that there needs to be programs also where the elders can tell their stories. And I feel that this, something where the elders can sit and, give, that recollection of what they went through, maybe it could be like maybe a story night with the elders, maybe start off with an elder from the community telling their story. And then afterwards, everybody can eat and play, but I feel like the youth, their lack of respect for the elders is because there's so much distance between the elders and the youth. And there's no platforms for the elders to even express how they feel sometimes. And we know how the elders are. They, some of them just like to talk, and that's fine. They have some wisdom to impart. But I think that if you don't give someone a platform within the community to do something, they're either going to go elsewhere or they're going to implode with all of those. It's going to come out in another way that's not going to be agreeable, So I think that those are things that I see that needs to be done. And I'm actually, I've actually pitched this idea to a few different imams, and I have, COVID is really, slowing down some things, but alhamdulillah, Allah's in control. But I have a lot of ideas in, different events that we can do. Definitely, a rites of passage program is in the works, and I'm working with many of my elders in that. Imam, Sheikh Mohammed Mendes is also one of my mentors, in that as well. Dr. Bilal Ware, I don't know if you heard of Dr. Bilal Ware.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Dr. Ware. He is another bars. Yeah. He's another gem. Wallahi, he's another gem in our community that I think the youth definitely need to be exposed to. And he has a book. He has many books too. The Walking Quran, the Pen. Yeah, I think these are all collectors. We need the books of all of our community. Every African American Muslim that has, enough accolades and enough intellectual, and enough scholarship to write a book. We need those books. Wallahi. And I really love his disposition and how he presents, us connecting with our history and the history of our believing ancestors, and that being a way to bridge the gap between the elders and the youth. So Allah preserve Dr. Bilal Butch Ware. He's also doing a lot of amazing things. So that's what I feel like we have all that we need. I feel like we have enough people that are doing work. Even books are coming out. We have a lot of people that are doing good things. We just need to know who they are. We need to connect with them. We need to make things happen. And I think the beauty of the time that we're in now is that it's as easy as clicking a Zoom link. You can connect with somebody real quick, get something going. And inshallah, when COVID is lifted, Ameen, say Ameen.
Ameen, Ameen, yeah, Ameen. Ameen.
This COVID is lifted, we can get back together and we can make things in person. So I have a lot of ideas. And I'm given, the chaplaincy program that I'm in now. Yeah. I'm getting even more ideas, from different chaplains and imams and from around America and even in Europe. Alhamdulillah, I'm expanding my network, and I'm thinking of how we can bring certain programs to and making it specific to our plight as African Americans and helping us get through our own issues that we have, but in a way that doesn't disconnect us to our brothers and sisters elsewhere. We have our own things in-house that I think should be exclusive to us, but also I think, it should be some things that are, a little bit more open to the international, our brothers in elsewhere. And, I know a lot of, Warith Deen community, a lot of them are exclusive to the extent that sometimes they even make immigrant brothers and sisters feel uncomfortable when they step into our masjid. I think y'all know what I'm talking about too. So I feel like we could ease up on that. I remember when I was at Masjid, Mount Shabazz in Harlem, Mashallah, that's another, Imam Pasha over there. Mashallah, he's another gem. I think he has a lot of wisdom as well, and a lot to offer our community. But I just think that's another big space that's
going to wait. That's not being utilized. I'm gonna say why it waste, but it's not being utilized to its
right. It's not at all being utilized, and Harlem doesn't look like the Harlem we grew up in, and we still young.
Still young.
I don't know
what my father grew up in. That's for sure.
Yeah, like imagine what Harlem is gonna look like in a couple more years. I don't know, man. So, I feel like we have these buildings, we have these spaces that we can do a lot more with, and I really hope that that we can get together with our elders, because I really feel like my dua.
Mm-hmm.
My prayer is that a transition doesn't have to happen after somebody passes away.
Oh, yeah.
It isn't like, okay, the imam passed away, who's coming? They kind of like, you gotta, unfortunately, believe it or not, there's a lot of imams now that's how they became the imam. They became the imam after the present imam just passed away. It wasn't a
transition.
Yeah, it wasn't a transition. It was like, okay, he's dead now. You have to be the imam, and I think that's embarrassing. We have to do better. We have to do better. We have to do better. So that's my dua. I really hope that we can take advantage of our elders while they're living, and that it can be programs. My goal, my vision is that there's a program specifically within the Imam Warith D community for transitioning leadership positions. That we need one that is specific to our community.
Absolutely, I agree 100%.
And then specific to the masajid.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the Atlanta Masjid community is a good example in their like 3 imam system, sort of like there's kind of 3 imams or like 1 imam
rotation. Yeah.
Right. And I feel like that there's I think there's wisdom in setting things up that way, where there's a rotation, not only for the khutbah, but for different programs, for different, events, different, I think that all of that is necessary, especially in urban areas, in urban cities like Atlanta, New York, Chicago. If it's not happening there, where else is it going to happen? There's like, Imam Warith, we got buildings. I know y'all know like land, buildings that are just literally there.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta do something. So that's my dua, man. I really I hope that that we can usher that in. Ameen.
Dean, you got a question for our beloved before we close out?
That's the way to bring it home. I mean, his name, I was doing a little fact check and the Nail, the brave and the winning spirit, Salahu-Din. My mother's name is her side is Salahu-Din as well. And that spirit, I mean, the spirit that you're presenting to us, it challenges us for those who, don't want to face the reality, but in another sense, it's actually a good form of optimism, right? To take evaluation of our community, look at those things that have been challenging us, and extract the excellence from our community and just push forward, because that's where we'll get the best results from. So I appreciate you coming on. This has been New Freedom Exchange. We were smooth. You were smooth with it. We didn't even do the
Mashallah. I was asking, but I was like, what y'all going to ask me, man? Y'all scared y'all gonna get me in trouble, man.
Yeah, we got your back.
Alhamdulillah. I'm at your service. I really I love what you guys are doing. I think this is a great platform, and I really think that I love Sister Marsha taking all these notes, because I really believe that she's our note taker. Gems that I feel like there's a lot of things that come out in these conversations. Sometimes I'm able to listen, sometimes I'm not, but every time I listen, I get something, I get a new idea. And I feel that these conversations bring out ideas that that we can, find ways to implement and then benefit our community with. And, may Allah, continue to bless you all for this platform and what you guys are doing. I think it's not overlooked. It's not, I don't want to undermine this at all. This is a beautiful thing for our community. And I really believe that, only good things are going to come out of this platform for the benefit of our community. And anytime, please, you guys can reach out to me. I'm at your service. Anytime that I'm free, I'm willing to be of service any way that I can. So, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate you, my beloved, for spending some time, taking some time out of your day, your fatherhood. The Human Development Center in the background. So we
Subhanallah.
Alhamdulillah, definitely appreciate that. We definitely appreciate you for sure, and we hope that our audience found some benefit out of this conversation. They can take heed to some actionable items that were mentioned in this conversation. Take heed of the educational tools, some of the books that were mentioned in this conversation. And I think that this series is going to continue. Obviously, our next one is with
this is the book.
Yeah, this is the book.
This is the book that Imam Sheikh Mendes just translated. I don't know. I think they actually changed the cover. The cover is gonna look the cover is gonna look different than that, but that's the book. That's another collector's item, as I say, that our children need to be exposed to books like that in their youth, for them to not even have those issues of looking outside of themselves. Definitely.
So definitely check that out. Check out all that. We will continue with this series. March 6th, I believe. We have Sister Jada Ahmed.
Alhamdulillah.
She'll be coming on this platform. We got a couple other people lining up. Of course, we have Imam Rashad coming back for community conversations this Sunday. We have New Africa Talks.
We got a power pack this weekend. Actually.
Yeah, we have New Africa Talks on Saturday, which is actually Imam Rashad again. We're simulcasting that conversation. Actually, do we have the flyer loaded up? I don't think I have the flyer loaded up, but I think I shared something.
Tell your man Rashad when I come to Atlanta. I'm gonna see him when I come to Atlanta. I can't even announce when I come to Atlanta. It's trouble, But
we go.
But I'm gonna see him when I go.
Yeah, we might have to do a road trip down there, man. Because I know Deen went down there a couple months ago to visit the Imam. That's what I'm saying. So we might have to do a road trip down there, a New Freedom road trip down to Atlanta. So we're trying to do this New Freedom road trip to Umrah, man. But I don't for Ramadan. But I think the Hajj precinct said that it's closed. They're probably gonna try to open up for the Hajj season. But I think Deen, what did the sister say? Who's over there?
It'll be after Ramadan.
It'll be after Ramadan. So because we know some people in who live in Saudi who told us that. So inshallah, we're trying to do some things here with this platform. Again, we appreciate our brother Nail for stopping by. Salahu-Din.
Can I plug in one more thing? Plug
it in.
So this Thursday,
I don't have the flyer for that.
We're doing
I'll share it,
a program, my wife and I, with our teacher, our mentor, Sheikh Mendes, invited us. We're speaking on the merits of the month of Rajab and Sha'ban. We're in the month of Rajab right now, and we know that this is a sacred month on the Islamic calendar, which is not like the other months, and this is a very a beautiful time in the Islamic world, where our believing ancestors and many others connected with this month in different ways. So we're going to be addressing that and speaking on that. And, the sunnah is to be present in every moment, down to the very month, the very day, etc. So we're going to be discussing many of the virtues and the merits of the sacred month that we're in now, and also Sha'ban coming and before Ramadan. So hopefully anyone who's able to tune in can tune into that. I'm praying that it's just as beneficial as this conversation was today. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So, Marsha, do you have any your closing remarks?
So I just wanted to emphasize to those who are watching and listening that Brother Nail is a product of our community. And with that being said, I want us all, I charge us all to do what we can for the youth that come behind him, to put just as much in them as we put into the youth before Brother Nail and others, because what he's very articulate. He knows the religion. He's experienced things that not every youth is experiencing, but it's because of what's been put into him. And so when we talk about what is or is not there for the youth in our community, I just want us to keep in mind that when those things are missing, we don't get to produce a Nail Salahu-Din. But when we do have those things in our community, we can produce 1,000, tens of thousands of Nails. And so, I'm a mom, and so I think about my children, and I have girls and they're teenagers, but, I think about our youth in general and how, we all have that prayer, right? We all want our children to be successful and to be exposed and to live the religion in a way that's not too far to the right or to the left, right? It's in that middle course, and it's in a place where they're not, some foreign type of, being. They're human beings. They're living in this human experience. And I feel like the conversation today with Brother Nail was an expression of what could be if we continue to put this type of effort and energy into the young people in our community. So I charge us all to do that and more.
Alhamdulillah. I just want to say that the goal is to be better than me. Wallahi, the goal is to be better than me. As I said, I'm still a student. I have much to learn. So I pray that, I can continue to live up to what my mentors and my believing ancestors have left for me. But the goal is to produce better than me. Wallahi, that's the goal. Each generation, we want people to get better. So, alhamdulillah, any way I can contribute to that, I'm all in. Alhamdulillah. Yes, this is the flyer. Alhamdulillah. Connecting our spiritual work to our justice work. So
nice.
This is going to be, I think this is going to be a very beneficial and beautiful program. Please tune in if you can this Thursday, and hopefully everyone can find some benefit. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And our Saturday program with Imam Rashad that we're simulcasting here, the New Africa Intelligentsia, they have their New Africa Talks. This month's edition installment is on the topic of Imam Muhammad's commentary on actually is a two-part. I think it's two presentations. I think Imam Rashad's going first, and Brother Ahmed Sabri is going second. So Imam Rashad's topic is Imam Muhammad's commentary on the African American people, and then Ahmed Sabri from the Holland Center of Al-Islam will talk about the need for a national ethnic flag for the African American people. That is going to be simulcasted here on the Freedom Exchange Saturday, February 27th, from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern. So please tune into that. And also the exhibit that we're having down in New York. We're having an exhibit in New York, PA, at our community virtual center. That we have two community virtual centers that we're developing. One in York, PA, and one is in West Philadelphia, not too far away from the New African Museum on Lancaster Avenue. At York, though, on this weekend, we're having a special exhibit. We have several pioneers from our community, elders, like Nail said, that these elders have a lot of knowledge, and they also have a lot of history that they have preserved. So we are creating a museum that will be open to the public in our virtual center and also it's going to be streamed virtually as well for those who are not in the area or those who cannot come out because of COVID. So we will have that streaming this weekend as well. More information forthcoming will be on our page. So please stay tuned for that. And as we develop these community centers, we will be asking our beloved those who watch us and support this program to financially support us, so we can develop these virtual community centers, because these centers will be where families will meet, Muslim families will meet, interfaith dialogue will take place. Every Thursday night we have What is Islam? What is the Al-Islam Forum that takes place every Thursday night. We just started that. That's been going on for about 3-4 weeks now, Deen, that we have there. So and also, we wanted to be a place where we could teach young people how to podcast, get them to some VR, some virtual reality, expose them a little bit to that, and do some things with the young people. And these are some of the projects that we all need to collaborate with, because we all have different levels of expertise. I think from this conversation tonight, for me personally, it was definitely I definitely like to hear from my peer group. Just other than myself, I don't want to do all the talking, because everyone has a different level, comes from a different experience, different experience. And I think that tonight, I believe that we have learned. I know I've learned a lot. What I'm saying, and just in reference to where we are, where do we need to go, what's our current state, and just what is the rest of my peer group thinking about. We have had the show covering some of the elders and pioneers, who have gracefully shared their story, but we want to give space again and make space, as the Quran say, make space in your assembly, make space in your ranks, for those who have something to say, because we all have something to say of benefit, and I think that this conversation tonight was exactly a reflection of that. And like Sister Marsha said, we should take from it and definitely start to build out from these conversations, and inshallah we will be more successful in the coming days, in the coming future. But that's my announcement. We appreciate you all as always. We appreciate Brother Nayel for stopping by. And we appreciate our support. Don't forget to follow us on New Freedom Exchange on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. Like our page, and that's all I got to say. Deen, you have something to say, man?
Just one last. Yeah, you keep talking. No problem, Mikey. One last thing I think I'll put out there. Actually, Brother Nail mentioned it. Actually, I guess I want to integrate it, right? Because Sister Marsha, she gave us this concept of, us telling our story, right? Getting the youth involved, of researching our history and highlighting historical figures in our community, and presenting with a short video. But in this discussion, something just came out that came to my mind. We also can get the pioneers themselves to be interviewed by young people to get their story. So all that can still be incorporated at this link. We'll put it in the description. So if you have a pioneer, and another thing you should mention about books, right? If you have any books that you want to recommend to the community, like email us at newfreedomexchangeshow@gmail.com, and we'll try to compile a list as a resource. So
I got a few other books I'm gonna be sending y'all for sure.
Yeah, just keep them coming, so yeah, definitely.
Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
Appreciate you coming on. Do we have any comments from the audience?
Oh man,
they've been in and out all day.
The comments we've had, we appreciate those, and we will see you guys on the flip side. But we definitely appreciate everyone for stopping by and supporting the Freedom Exchange, in our platform. And this is a platform for the people, a platform for us as a community. This is dawah, and dawah is just education. It's just a form of education of our way of life to the general public, because we have non-Muslims who watch this show as well, and they find benefit in our conversations. They always, in fact, they call us, they stop us at our job and be like, they just talk, and all they do is talk about the show. Oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. Oh man, this was good, and they give constructive criticism too, and we welcome that. We want to be better as a platform. We want to serve the interests of the best of interests, because we have the best of intent, but we just want to make sure we're serving with the best of interests at heart. So I'm grateful, and until next time, my beloveds, and we all hope everyone has a great rest of their Tuesday evening.
Hold on. Bilal, you gotta close it.
Oh yeah.
You gotta close it. You gotta close it out.
Yes. We have to close it out with prayer, with dua. You understand what I'm saying? Subhana rabbikal izzati amma yasifun wassalamu ala mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ameen.
Till next time.
Assalamu alaikum.
What would you like people to think about you when you've gone?
I'd like for them to say he took a few cups of love. He took 1 tablespoon of patience, 1 teaspoon of generosity, 1 pint of kindness. He took 1 quart of laughter, 1 pinch of concern, and then he mixed willingness with happiness. He added lots of faith, and he stirred it up well. Then he spread it over a span of a lifetime, and he served it to each and every deserving person he met.
Muhammad Ali, thank you very much.
They ask me about religion, why? They ask me about my race and my tribe. They ask about my complexion, why? When they ask me, this is what I say. My grandfather was a Muslim, and my daddy was a Rasta. They were searching for the truth, and the Quran they gave the answer. They put their hands up to the sky, and they ask the Lord why. We not gonna worship the creation, we only pray to the Creator. Guidance is a gift that the Lord shall give to any man or woman, whether small or big. God said you must reflect, you have to use your mind. So now you know the reason why. My grandfather was a Muslim, and my daddy was a Rasta. They were searching for the truth. In the Quran they found the answer. They put their hands up to the sky, and they asked the Lord why. We not gonna worship the creation, we only pray to the Creator. The messenger of God, the best of creation. Peace and blessings be upon him and his one nation. He came to teach the world, came to free our souls, and the charity comes from a smile. So when you see me on the road, give me a smile. I say salam alaikum to my brothers, why? Cause it's peace for you and it's peace for me. Peace from my granddaddy. My grandfather was a Muslim. My daddy was a Rasta. My daddy was a Rasta. They were searching for the truth. Yeah. In the Quran they found the answer. They put their hands up to the sky. And they asked the Lord why. We not gonna worship the creation. We only pray to the Creator. My grandfather was a Muslim. And my daddy was a Rasta. They were searching for the truth. In the Quran they found the answer. They found what they were looking for. They put their hands up in the sky, and they asked the Lord why. We not gonna worship the creation. We only pray to the Creator. Grandfather was a Muslim, and my daddy was a Rasta. They were searching for the truth, and the Quran gave the answer. They put their hands up.